And he asked the Rebbetzin one time, we go there for quite a bit of time, he spent a lot of time there. And so he asked the Rebbetzin if he wanted to take a picture of her. And she said, next time. Next time. So the next time he came, the following year, or half a year, whenever it was, he came with the camera and when it was all ready, but he didn't take the picture. She told him before he could do it. He said he felt, and he's not the kind of person, he's the person he wanted to do something, he was going to do it. Especially when she already said, next time you can do it. But he understood. So what I'm saying about the Rebbetzin, and I heard this from other relatives and people who worked there, that the Rebbetzin had a power of not having to say and getting you to do what you had to do. For example, she didn't want people to be there when she was benching licht, Shabbos, but she never said leave. Never say go out. But the people understood what she wanted, and that's a tremendous, a high litin al-bir, but every person can learn that sometimes you can be most effective in what you want to give across in an indirect way. You have to be clear when it's a mitzvah or it's something you have to do. You have to be very clear about what's right and what's wrong. But when it comes to just some things, one of the things she did not have to be blunt, even though she was powerful, extremely powerful. You walked into that. She was a very short woman. And you walked into that. Everybody who was there says the house was filled with her presence. It's like a malchus. You would just feel a different way. And another thing, just somebody asked me this morning, that one time I was there with my shver, and I don't remember who else from the family was there, but I was there with two sons. It was probably, maybe it was Lamed Gimel, Shavuos time. I'm trying to think when my shver was there, and I would have been there too. In those years, I didn't come as well. We were there anyway. And my boys, they were 7, 8 years old, and they were running around. You know, everyone was sitting there and talking for a whole time, and they were running around in the house. Like there was doors between two rooms, and they were holding the knobs on both sides and swinging back and forth. Yeah, so that made it tasty. But between the two rooms, it's not exactly like the house is now. That's not how it was set up. But there is that small dinette right near the kitchen, and then there's a small room, it looks like, yeah? So we would sit in that small room. The other area was like a lounge, sort of, it had couches and things. And by the dinette, next to a chair, was like a telephone table, a small table, and on it were 5, 6 foreign on this table, and in each sefer there was a simaniyot, what do you call them, a little bookmark, you know, a little card or something over there, and which looked like somebody was learning there. You know, somebody was sitting and had the place in this thing, and I was terrified. One thing I was afraid while they're running around, they're going to run over there and pull out one of these cards. That's what I was scared of. And I decided it's time to go. I just didn't want to, you don't want to scream at them there, and I didn't want to, whatever. So I said, you know, and Rebbetzin said, what can I do? She come to me, and she said, you know, can I do something like that? I said, the kinder, whatever it was. So she said the following words: Tut v'aich is bakrema. Do what's more comfortable for you. And I went, and it reminded me of a different time when somebody else told me almost the same words, which was Oder Tovshin Chav Gimel. I remember the next day was that night. It was that night before I was in Bocha then, a few months before my chasana. I was a chosen. And Rabbi Yudel Krinsky, a very close friend, he came over to me just before the Seder that night. And he said that Shazar, Zalman Shazar, was not yet president. It was a few weeks before he became. He became when Ben Tzvi died. But anyway, so he said that he's coming to see the Rebbe tonight. Last time he came, I don't know when it was, if it was years before, 2 years, whatever. He said last time he came, afterwards, when he took the Rebbe home, when he drove the Rebbe home, the Rebbe asked him, did you arrange someone to belave him, to take him to his hotel or wherever he's going? And he said, no. So he said, this time I want to make sure that I could tell the Rebbe yes. And he gave me $20, or it would be like today $200. He gave me enough money to take a taxi for those days to Manhattan and back, wherever he's going. Zalman Shazar turned up at 10 o'clock and went in, and I'm sitting there. It's 11, it's 12, 1. This time I went in, I got in there tachten just there, there's still voices. I thought, maybe I missed something. And the next day was going to be a camp reunion of Gan Yisrael, and the Rebbe was going to daven downstairs, which was very rare in those days. A mincha in Mitten Woch. I was downstairs, I'm going to pick up, and I came up, I thought maybe I missed. And I sat in the zal upstairs on the table, which is facing the door, which faces the door to Gan Eden Tachten, which is open anyway in those days. I sat there, and at some stage I must have dozed off. Maybe for a second, maybe for an hour, I don't know what it was, probably for a few minutes. I look up, and the Rebbe is standing in the doorway. The Rebbe himself. It was 4 a.m. 4 a.m. And I jumped up, obviously, and the Rebbe said to me, maybe you'll take him home. And I think maybe Rabbi Krinsky already told the Rebbe this. I don't know. So I said, yeah. So and I walked there. I think there was another bach. I think it was Yosel Bloy, so maybe. It was an Israeli bacha, but the Rebbe spoke to me. And I went to the hall, and then in the corridor, there used to be hooks for the coats. Now they don't have it probably because of fire regulations. There's that little alcove. So his coat was out, there was a hanger outside Rabbi Hadakov's office, and that's where his coat was hanging. So here Zalman Shazar walking to get his coat. The Rebbe is walking behind him a few steps, and I was walking behind the Rebbe a few steps. And then, when he reached his coat, the Rebbe turned to me and said, Wie gehst du nehmen? Mit der Karte, mit der Taxi? And so, now, I would have a few problems taking with a car. A, I don't have a car, and B, I don't have a license. And on the other hand, you told me to take him with a taxi. Now, to wait for a taxi in Crown Heights, there was no car service. To wait for a taxi outside 770 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you could wait a half hour till a taxi came by with a light on. And it's 4 o'clock in the morning. There's no traffic. So this was all in a split second. In that split second, I said to myself, I'm going to ask the Rebbe what to do. And if the Rebbe says car, label Brandel, Allah Shalom, he was a bacha, and he's next door, I'd run into him. He had a car, and I'd get him to drive. Okay, so now go back to the question. The Rebbe says, Wie geht dem nehmen? Mit a taxi mit a car. So I said, Wie soll ich ihm nehmen? The Rebbe said, Wie is bakwema. How it's more comfortable for him. So I turned to Shazar, I said, wie sag bequem mit der Karte mit der Taxi? He said, mit der Taxi is auch good. He must have understood. If I'm asking such a question, it means I don't have a car. Anyway, he says, with the taxi is good. We walk out, and the Rebbe is watching to see that he's going. That second, a taxi drove up. That second. We didn't wait even 30 seconds. He got into a taxi and went in. He asked me to come into the hotel. He wanted to give a tape. He said, this was a reingeben in the Rebbe's hand. I want you to give this to the Rebbe's hand, this tape. And later on, there was a guy called Shmuel in Eretz Yisrael, he writes a lot. And he wrote a sefer about a Shazar with the Rebbe. It's called Anosi V'Hachosid, about the Rebbe and Shazar. And it's a very good title. And he called me up to get all the details of the story. But it seems that he knew what the tape was about. He knew from the Yechidus. He did a lot of research, this guy. And, well, that's the story. So, wie ist Bakrama? That's the important.